Hello, what's good? What's good, players? Let me show y'all something real quick. You see this whole ass look? This fucking what some may consider silly, preposterous, outright stupid ass look. I was just like, you know what? Nah, honestly, this should get kind of uncomfortable. But I hella wanted it to make it look like I was like a swordsman or some shit. You feel me? And I have the sword on my fucking hip, and I just draw this shit when people trying to act up. Nah, I forgot my umbrella, and then I was carrying a bunch of shit in my hands, but now I made space so I can actually just, oh shit, my bad. I can actually just carry it in my hand now. But that's not why I'm recording this video. People's dogs are out there while they're fighting. Hey, my hair is an absolute mess. That air does not help either. But anyway, with that addressed, today's topic, pride is a man's way of life. Now, I love saying shit in a way that can be interpreted, multiple ways. Double entendre, I believe, is referred to as. Could be wrong. It's that shit in school, when your teacher's like, what does this passage mean, or what did the author mean by this passage? When it's just about, a guy buying a pack of gum or some shit. There's supposed to be some deeper meaning. It's like that, yeah. So pride is a man's way of life. So firstly, it's like, what is pride? That's a good ass question, actually. Let me look that up. All right, so hella silly of my part to not actually familiarize myself with the definition, as I usually try to do. But pride. So from what I read, it said consciousness with one's own dignity, or a great feeling of satisfaction that comes from one's own achievements, actions, or characteristics. So it's pretty much just feeling great about yourself, or something you did, or something about yourself. Hella great. Pride. So, they call pride, one of the seven deadly sins. But, pride, I feel like, is mostly associated with, with men, to be honest. And I don't mean that in some sort of sexist way. I'm not saying women can't be proud, or women are fucking barred from being proud, right? But what I'm saying is, usually when we think about something that's really proud, it'd be a man. And then when we think about things that are usually dominated by, pride, that's to say that their actions or their way of life is heavily affected by the, feeling of pride, or the concept of pride. It would be men. So pride is a man's way of life. Can be interpreted as that. Pride, the feeling, sensation itself, dictates or kind of controls or guides the way that men act. Get that right? Okay. And then there's the second way I mean it, which is pride is a man's way of life. So what I mean by that is the way you decide to live, as to say, the values and principles you decide to incorporate into yourself, the ones that you decide to practice every day, the people you decide to surround yourself with, the goals you set for yourself, just the way you want to live and conduct your own life, that is your pride. Excuse me. And you're probably wondering, what the fuck is the difference? Well, one has to do with an emotion. It's saying that your life is subject to pride, while the other one is saying your life is the way you live your life is your pride. And that might not make a difference. You're just well, what is that? What does that have to do with anything? Or why should I give a fuck about that? Or why is it even important? Well, firstly, it's really important to understand how pride plays a role in our lives, and how we can use pride to our benefit. And that's also discussing how pride can fuck you over. So firstly, pride. The really great thing about pride is the fact that it's just it's not just a feeling, but it could be fuel. It's its own, it's a self-serving battery type of thing. Because think about it like this. Look, you work a job because you get money at the end of it, right? You eat food because you get hungry. Because it satisfies your appetite. But when you do things out of pride, you're just doing that shit for the sake of, for almost no sake. It's just for the sake of pride, just so you can feel great about that shit. There's almost no reason, or the rewards aren't like necessarily concrete or immediately noticeable. But when you do shit out of pride, it's just like you practically did it for nothing. But guess what? Some shit still got done at the end of the day. You still achieved something. You still did something. And that could be, applied anywhere in life. Let's say like working the job, right? If you work a job and you work it to the end of, oh yeah, I made some money, then the extent to which you did a great job can vary, right? Because at the end of the day, all you gotta do is the bare minimum at your job, or you gotta do just enough at your job so that, they keep you around and still pay you, whatever. However, if you have like a sense of pride, then you're gonna push that shit. You're gonna be like, you know what? Yeah, maybe all I gotta do is the bare minimum, but I don't want that to be my legacy. I want people to look at my work or at me and be like, damn, this motherfucker is he's great, he's talented, he's capable. I like this motherfucker. So boom. You put your pride in there. You put some sense of pride in there, do shit with pride, and then guess what? The universe responds to your fucking will. It'll be like, this motherfucker put some extra work in this shit. Regardless of the, regardless of the reasoning or the motivation, he did greater than he would have normally. And then like, it's like in that sense, God damn. In that sense, your pride just did you a favor. It's great. And it's hella useful. However, when this idea of pride, this idea of looking great, feeling great, seeming great is too great to the point where it dictates your life, it can hold you back. Eric, you just explained to me how that shit is great. How can this be bad for me? It's probably pretty obvious, and some of y'all might know it, but some of y'all might be blind to it, or you might be I don't want to say victim, but you might suffer from this from the setbacks of pride. So what are some? So when you predicate, that just like that one, that's when you pretty much when you base a lot of your livelihood on the pride and all that, you're subject to the greatest con, or like the biggest negative of pride, which is shame. Now, when you're a very proud person, then the most painful thing for you is to feel shame. And facing embarrassing things in our life that bring us shame, or just acting or doing shameful things, is a natural part of life. But when you're proud, that shit hurts like hell. And it might even hurt to the extent where it might frustrate you or anger you to the point where you're blinded by your pride. And instead of, accepting that, embarrassment and shame or whatever, if you see it that way, because it doesn't have to be that way, like instead of accepting those as natural, like failure, embarrassment, whatever, as natural as a part of life, then you start kind of circumventing that. You start ducking it, you start avoiding it, or you start straight up, lying that when it comes to shame. And if you're like, Eric, what are you talking about? I have no clue what you're saying. I got you. So let's say this. This is like an easy example for me to point to, and I don't mean to necessarily offend anyone when I use this example, but it's just something that I feel like it's super easy to use, and it's like very easy to explain. Yeah, pretty much. Just, it was hella redundant when I said that, but whatever. And I said I was gonna be more organized with these videos, but you know what, fuck it. Better to be a less organized video than no video. So the example I use is that I play video games, right? Sometimes I get teammates who do pretty bad in the game, right? They'll do poorly, and when they're doing that bad, they might either blame themselves or they might blame their team. But to blame themselves is to, admit that you're imperfect, admit that you fuck up, admit that there is embarrassment and shame to you, right? Because that's usually what we attach failure to. Or like, we might feel like we're failing in that way. And then that frustration from that, instead of, expressing that as, damn, I suck at this game and I need to get better. Or like, damn, I'm not that good at this game. I have plenty of ways I still need to improve. That person, what they might do is instead is get mad at their teammates. Tell me if you ever played a game where because I used to do this shit all the time when I was younger, and I still do sometimes, to be honest. I feel like it's a habit that I rediscovered, which I kind of want to get rid of. But it's like when I'm doing bad, or when things are not going my way in a game, and I start looking at my team and being like, damn, these guys are fucking up. If this guy wasn't doing this, then, you know, we would be winning. But at the end of the day, it's like, okay, but am I even looking at what I'm doing? Or am I looking at what I could have done better? Like, instead of looking at what I've been doing wrong, I just kind of like get mad at my teammates instead. And it's just like, when like the more proud you are, the more likely you are to look at other things and be like, man, fuck that shit. Because it's like, the more you allow your pride to dictate, you know, your actions, and the more you kind of yearn for that feeling of satisfaction that you get from pride, you start becoming oblivious to your own faults. And then you kind of stagnate your own growth in that way. So then it's just like, in that way, you've allowed pride to dictate your life. You know, it's cool and all to be proud, I guess. You know, it's what everybody kind of does in a sense. But like, do you want to be proud, or do you want to like grow? Do you want to be proud, or do you want to like get better? Whether that's in, you know, your art, your fucking in the game, in sports, whatever. Like, which one do you want, you know? And then that's why the second version, pride is a man's way of life, instead of basing it on that feeling of pride alone, what you do it is base it upon principles. For me, one of the biggest things that led to my growth was sort of the principles that I adopted and, you know, the mindset that I followed. And it was just like, all right, so when I would watch like pro players or people who are hella good at the game, at the game I'm trying to get good at, I would like sort of listen to what they had to say, right? Because obviously if they're really good at the game, then they know a lot of things, or they know something, right, that I don't. So oftentimes what they would say is just like, all right, look, if you're gonna play a game, you know, a team-oriented game, then don't even worry about what your team is doing. Like, you have to obviously be aware of what they're doing in the sense of like, pay attention to how you're gonna win the game, but like, don't worry about if it's their fault that you're losing or their mistakes or whatever, right? If you're losing and you can blame your team, don't do that shit. Because at the end of the day, anyone can blame their own team. At the end of the day, the only thing you can really control is what you do and how you react. You can't control if your teammates have a bad day, a bad game. You can't control if your teammates have a bad attitude. You know, you can't control any of that. So what you could do is focus on what you can do better. And then, you know, that can be hard for a lot of people right there, but adopting that mindset of like, because this is the mindset I had to adopt, was like, if I lose a match, it's my fault. Or like, if I didn't win, it's because I didn't do as well as I could have, or I could have done better and we could have won that match. You know, I mean, like, that's like, you really have to humble yourself. But at the end of the day, adopting a mindset that helps you do better might be better. It might make you feel bad if you're overly proud, because you gotta admit to a lot of shit you don't want to admit to. You're like, oh, you know what, maybe it was my fault we lost that match. You know what, maybe it is my fault that we lost the past 20 matches or some shit. You know, that's a fucking hard shit to admit to. But guess what, you are now one step closer to making the 20 matches 19 matches. Because you're basing yourself better. Fuck the feeling of pride. It's just like, that shit ain't doing nothing for me, you know? So that was a very messy explanation as to what I mean by pride is a man's way of life. I don't think it's, actually, I don't know. I think it's cool to be proud. Like, I feel like it's such a strong, like, urge in men, especially, I feel like, to want to be proud. I feel like just actually in today's society, we're very egotistical. Damn, my fucking hair is all over the place, Jesus. But like, understand the strength and the limitations of that. And rather than basing yourself in like this stubborn proudness or whatever, the stubborn pride, you know, just base yourself in more worthwhile values and principles. If you're not, you know, like if you're not good at something, then adopt the principle that you need to work harder. If working harder ain't good enough, then, you know, sometimes you gotta work smarter. Just, you know, just admitting and letting go of your pride can open up so much for you. And then that could be your pride. Be proud of the fact that you made growth in that regard. And yeah, I don't know. This is my very poorly explained video for today. I figured since you know, I'm walking home, it'll be the perfect time to do it, because when I get home, guess what the fuck I'm gonna do? Jack shit. You guessed it right. I'm not, you know, I'm not in the greatest spirits, motivations, focus. I'm not. But right now, oh my God, bro, like, you guys gotta understand, I have so much shit in my hand. I should have just done this a minute ago. It's windy outside, I'm sorry. But like, yeah, bro, like, pride is a man's, God damn it. Pride is a man's way of life. How you gonna let that shit, what definition you're gonna adopt, what sort of, you know, path you're gonna follow, you know, that's on y'all. I can't decide that shit for you. And for any ladies that, you know, potentially watch this shit, feel that like they were excluded, or that I was being sexist or some bullshit, my bad. If you suffer from the, you know, condition known as too damn proud, this might apply to you. Just, you know, don't think about it being about men. Just think about it in the sense of I was explaining about, you know, bad teammates and all that. But yeah, it's so funny because this is like actually pretty applicable to. All right, so my phone died halfway through the walk. Got home. I mean, my hair looks like shit, but at least I combed it a little bit so it looks a little less shit, right? It's funny too that I talk about ego and pride, and I'm talking about how my fucking hair looks crazy as shit, right? But yeah, I think I said pretty much everything I needed to say. I don't actually remember what else I had on the topic. But to wrap this video up, self-assess that whole pride shit, you know, actually confront it, deal with it. Because like I said, being too proud is a motherfucker. That's pride will be the death of me, you know? You ever heard that fucking saying? Sometimes you gotta let shit go. You gotta let ideas go. You gotta burn off some of that old bullshit to let, you know, some new shit in. Potentially some good shit, you know, some growth. But yeah, let me bless y'all with my face real quick. Nah. But yeah, I mean, you know, on the bright side of my phone dying, y'all gotta see how I look. But yeah, if you're too proud, you know, work on that shit. If you're not where you're at in your life, make some changes. And, you know, for the fellas, be better men. And for people in general, we just be better people. Because I know I was talking about ladies and all that, but I feel like whether it was intentional or not, I geared this video towards men. I mean, it was sort of intentional. This shit is literally called Pride is a Man's Way of Life. Of course that shit was intentional. What the fuck am I saying? But what I'm saying is that, like, I am gearing this shit towards men. I am a man myself, so I'm going to be talking about, you know, men shit to men. But, you know, just because I am doesn't mean that if you're a female or if you don't identify as a man, that you have to feel like this shit is a personal attack against you or it's not applicable to you. You know, just try to understand the essence of what I'm saying or what I'm trying to get at and see if it helps you out in any way. If this was at any way fucking comprehensible or if it had any, you know, worthwhile shit said in it, then yeah. But that's pretty much it for me. All right, fellas, let's do better. See y'all later.